Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of October, the month where I make spooky videos. And as per tradition, I've only made 2 videos for the entire month of October. But in my defense, it would be a little bit easier to make more videos if I didn't have 4 midterms in the middle of October. In the middle of October. Oh my god, I'm getting confused. But anyways, this is just what we have to deal with. And luckily for all of you, I've compiled a whole bunch of spooky fun facts that we're all going to digest together. And it's going to be a whole bunch of fun, probably. Let's get started with our first spooky fun fact. Check out this photograph. Can you tell which one of these children is dead? I know, it's crazy. I don't think it's that hard to tell. It's this one. It's this one on the left. This was a pretty common practice in the Victorian era. The practice was to sort of prop dead people up like they were alive and then take pictures of them or take pictures of them with their family. And this article says that a big reason why that this was common was because of the high childhood mortality rate. So a lot of times children would die and they would have died before ever having their picture taken, right? So their entire life they've never had their picture taken and then they die. But their family wants to remember them, and one of the only ways to have a permanent memory of what someone looks like is to take a picture of them. So they would prop them up like they were alive and just act like everything was normal. So it's pretty spooky. We can go through some of the photos that it listed here as examples. So old photography, it would require very long exposures. And it would require people to sit very still for a very long time. Well, who's better at sitting still than dead people? So oftentimes, the dead people, because they don't move, would appear much clearer than people that were alive in the photographs. So the woman in the middle is dead, and you could tell because her face is so much clearer than the other two. That's spooky to think about, weird to think about. The woman on the left, her photograph was taken, and her eyes were painted onto the photograph after it was developed. Not very well, I might add. It just makes her look weird. It would have been better if they hadn't done that, in my opinion. The woman on the right, they didn't even try. They're just like, yeah, she's dead. It is what it is. Oh, it's a dead baby. Only one of them's dead, though. That's the good news. Sorry. Oh, this is so sad. This isn't even scary. This is sad. Look at all these dead babies. Although their mother has died in this one. The children are alive. This is just sad. I don't know why I shared this. This isn't scary at all. It's sad. The little girl's arranged upright as if she's dropped off to sleep while playing with her favorite dolls. That's sad. That's sad as hell. I'm sad. The boy on the left just looks creepy because they painted on his eyes poorly. Well, great. I'm sad now because we just looked at a whole bunch of pictures of dead babies. Apparently this practice started to become less common as child mortality rates would increase. By the way, it isn't just children that were dead in the photographs. In case you were confused about that, there were dead adults that were also photographed. Sometimes, as we saw in the picture, like this woman is dead, for example. It was just a reason why it was so common. It was because of the high childhood mortality rate. But as the childhood mortality rate began to decrease, that's spooky. Maybe I should just keep it. I don't know. I should just keep the lights off. The automatic lights turned off because I'm just in a classroom. Anyways, what was I talking about? Yeah, the childhood mortality rate began to decline. And I guess it became less of a common practice because there was less dead children to take pictures of. Which is good news. Let's move on to our next story, which is totally unrelated. The Miami Cannibal attack is what this Wikipedia article calls it. You may know it as that guy that was high on bath salts that ate that other guy. Yeah, it turns out he wasn't high on bath salts at all. That's the scary fact that I'm bringing to this. Yeah, they tested... Okay, so let me offer a brief timeline of events. So the guy was Rudy Eugene. That was the attacker. He was... I guess they have him on video just acting really erratically. Like he parked his car and then he was like walking through Miami and just like taking off his clothes. It was very weird. And after walking for 3 miles, he came across a homeless man named Ronald Popo. I'm not sure how it's pronounced. And just Rudy Eugene accused him of stealing his Bible and then beat Ronald Popo unconscious, removed Popo's pants, and bit off most of Popo's face above the beard, including his left eye, leaving him blind in both eyes. I'm going to turn the lights on because I'm scared that someone's going to like walk in here. I turned the lights on because I was scared that someone was going to think that this classroom was empty and just walk in on me while I'm doing this sort of embarrassment. It doesn't matter. What are we talking about? Cannibals. But he wasn't actually a cannibal and he wasn't high on bath salts. So Rudy Eugene was then shot by a Miami police officer. I think the police officer approached him and told him to stop eating this guy's face, and then he just didn't, and the police officer then shot him dead. And then in the toxicology reports, okay, so let's back up. So originally in the police reports, I think there were police officers that speculated that he might have been high in bath salts because they're like, oh, it matches the activity of someone that's high in bath salts. But when the toxicology report came back, they found that he actually wasn't high in bath salts at all. He did test positive for marijuana. So obviously, marijuana will cause you to eat people, not bath salts. That's what we should all draw from this. The homeless man, by the way, he wasn't fine, but he survived. Most of his face was chewed off, and he was permanently blinded after this. But he was able to get medical treatment. I think his face was reconstructed. And eventually he was able to like walk again and everything. That's very sad for this poor random guy. And the other thing too is that the autopsy revealed that the attacker, Rudy Eugene, didn't actually have any human flesh in his stomach, so he actually didn't eat any of Ronaldo Popo. Popo? I don't know. He actually didn't eat any of Ronald Popo. So I guess he's not a cannibal. The bath salts cannibal is neither a cannibal nor was high on bath salts. He was more like the marijuana chewer. Great. Because he was high on marijuana and he just chewed the guy's face off. Let's move on to the next story, which is hopefully a little more cheerful. It's not going to be cheerful. It's about, this is big topic right now. The rainbow fentanyl. This is a article from the DEA. There was a warning about rainbow fentanyl that's used to target young Americans. That's what it says in the article. in this article. And in this article, it never mentions Halloween candy specifically, but I feel like there's been a lot of people that have been, or somehow there's come up the idea that maybe kids are going to be given rainbow fentanyl in their Halloween candy this year. Yeah, so fentanyl it's an opioid that's 50 times more potent than heroin and 100 times more potent than morphine. Just 2 milligrams of fentanyl, which is equal to 10 to 15 grams of table salt, is considered a lethal dose. Without laboratory testing, there's no way to know how much fentanyl is concentrated in a pill or powder. So that is pretty scary. But this Vox article, which I don't know how reliable Vox is, but it does make a very good point towards the end. The idea of drug dealers targeting children with deadly doses of rainbow fentanyl doesn't make a whole lot of sense. First of all, children don't have money, and money is an important aspect of a drug deal. And secondly, drug dealers would like to keep their client base alive, since that's their source of income. Killing children would be bad for business. So yeah, I think the idea is that children are going to be given rainbow fentanyl by drug dealers to get them hooked on fentanyl so that they will go back to the drug dealer to get more fentanyl. It's a very strange implications. Otherwise, the implication is that it's just crazy people that's handing out rainbow fentanyl to children to try to kill them. That's insane. I think it says somewhere in this article, there's been anxiety around Halloween candy for a very long time, despite there being not a whole lot of evidence that any children has ever been poisoned by candy, by Halloween candy. Or I don't think there have been any confirmed reports of a child that's been killed by Halloween candy. There was a sort of event that happened in 1974 where there was an 8-year-old. I actually have this story pulled up. Ronald Clark O'Brien. He was convicted of killing... Oh, the lights turned off. That's spooky. I'm going to turn them back on. Okay. Ronald Clark O'Brien was killed of killing an 8-year-old child by giving him potassium cyanide-laced pixie sticks. And that was on Halloween. The thing about this is that the child that Ronald Clark O'Brien killed was his own son. And the purpose, Ronald Clark O'Brien wanted to get insurance money. He had a very large insurance premium on his child, and he murdered his child so that he could get an insurance money, essentially, life insurance money. So that's very scary. But that's maybe where a lot of the anxiety around Halloween candy comes from, is this case where a father murdered his own son with Halloween candy. That's pretty disturbing. Let's move on to our next story, which is hopefully a little less spooky, but actually not, because that's kind of the video. But maybe it won't be spooky. Maybe it'll be just a fun little story. Who knows? But it won't be. Okay, let's move on to our next story. It's a very sad story, actually. This happened way back in October 2005. There was a woman who hung herself across the street from some homes on a moderately busy road. And several people, I guess, passed the body, but they assumed it was Halloween decorations. When did people actually realize it was a real body? People passed the body for more than 3 hours. People noticed the body at breakfast time Wednesday, but it was dismissed as a holiday prank. Authorities were called to the scene more than 3 hours later. I do find the idea of my body being mistaken for Halloween decorations pretty scary. But I think in this case, it's kind of more sad. I have another story which is definitely scarier in my opinion. There's a man who died suddenly on his front porch in Denver. He died on his front porch, and apparently there was a mailman that came to his door and saw his body, but assumed that his corpse was just a Halloween decoration because it was just a few days after Halloween. I think it was November 2nd. The man's name, you're not going to believe this, the man's name, Dale Porch. That was his name, and he died on a porch. That's horrible. He should have been more careful, frankly, around porches. That's what I think. So let's move on to our next story, which genuinely is pretty terrifying, I think. There's a woman who bought, when was this? This was back in 2012, I think. There's a woman that bought Halloween decorations from Kmart. What she wasn't expecting to find in the Halloween decorations. She opened it up. She found a letter that was from a Chinese labor camp. I'll just read you the letter as is. It does contain some grammatical errors, but I'm just going to read it as is. Sir, if you occasionally buy this product, please kindly resend this letter to the World Human Rights Organization. Thousands. Sorry. My brain just broke for a second. Oh, God. Okay. My brain just broke for a second, and I was just like a record player. Oh, my God, what happened? I blacked out. Oh, God. Okay, let me just recenter myself. That hasn't happened in a very long time. Where where my brain just broke reading a letter. Reading a word. Thousand. Why can't I say that word? Thousand. Yeah, thousand. Let me start over. I feel like I kind of broke the mood with that. I apologize. Let me start over. Sir, if you occasionally buy this product, please kindly resend this letter to the World Human Rights Organization. Thousands people here who are under the persecution of the Chinese Communist Party government will thank and remember you forever. The letter goes on to say, people who work here have to work 15 hours a day without Saturday, Sunday breaks, and any holidays. Otherwise, they will suffer torturement, beat, and rude remark. Nearly no payment, 10 yuan a month, which is about equivalent to $1.61. That's what they were being paid every month. People who work here suffer punishment 1 to 3 years averagely, but without court sentence, unlaw punishment. Many of them are Falun Gong practitioners who are totally innocent people only because they have different beliefs to the CCPG. They often suffer more punishment than others. This is what this woman found in her Halloween decorations. And I think she did report it to the World Human Rights Organizations, and I think they did launch an investigation. I wasn't able to find how the investigation ended up, but hopefully it went. Hopefully it did something. My head is spinning right now because I can't find out what happened to the people in the labor camp. I can't find any articles that talk about it. So I don't know what happened. I want to be able to say that everybody was okay, but I don't know that they were. And that's sad, and I kind of just want to move on to our last story, which is hopefully less sad. It's about a Scarecrow contest that happened in Washington. You can see the picture here. It's a Karen-themed Scarecrow. Like the Karen in the sense of like an entitled white woman. That sort of slang Karen. the reason why this is funny is because there were several people that saw the Scarecrow in Washington and called in to complain. I don't know, I guess they called into the city somewhere and they complained about the Scarecrow because they said it was offensive because they thought that it was supposed to be targeted at a specific person. People thought, there were some people that thought that it was supposed to be, this Scarecrow, there were some people that thought that the Scarecrow was trying to resemble Marcela Sanchez, who is a lifelong Proser resident and local physician. Proser is the city where this happened. Marcela Sanchez, a lifelong Proser resident and local physician, said that they have faced escalating harassment from residents and even city employees over the past 2 years as she has worked with others to oppose what they believe is an extravagant bond package. They said the display was targeted at a group member who was an avid gardener, and a black wig was put on the display to match her hair color. This past weekend, the City Hall entered an annual Halloween decorating contest with a ghoulish Scarecrow dressed up to look like me. Several people who understood the context behind the display immediately complained to the city, Sanchez told the Herald in an email. So there were several people that saw the Scarecrow and they're like, oh my god, that looks just like Sanchez. That's so offensive. Just imagine this woman seeing this Scarecrow for the first time and just saying, excuse me? That looks exactly like me. If this Scarecrow, if you think that the Scarecrow is supposed to look like you, maybe the problem is not the Scarecrow. That's all I'm going to say about this. Well, anyways, that's all the spooky fun facts I have for you. Happy Halloween. Good. Yeah. I don't know.